According to Amazon, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword's on its way to the Nintendo Switch, and while new games are always preferred over ports and remasters, many people, including my fat ass, are willing to be a little more lenient what with the whole PBR virus going on. But as great as it'd be to see this particular Zelda game get a remaster in the near future, there are quite a few hurdles that it'd have to overcome to become a reality in the near future that I really don't think a lot of people realize. What hurdles am I talking about, you ask? Well, sit back on your stepdad's dirty ass stoop, press the subscribe button if you haven't already, and allow me, the world's most toxic milk inspector, CameronAllOneWord, to tell you why Skyward Sword coming in the Nintendo Switch is a bit more of a hassle than people realize. Alright, so look, when I say that Skyward Sword would be difficult to bring to the Switch, I'm not saying that it can't be done, or even that it won't happen. In fact, seeing as how the captain of Zelda, Eiji Aonuma, has never once teased a Zelda game and not delivered, I'd say that it's pretty likely that Skyward Sword's coming to the Switch at some point. And knowing my luck, I wouldn't be surprised if a trailer for it dropped like 10 minutes after I upload this video. But what I am saying is that if it does end up happening, then I'll be quite impressed, because unlike most of Nintendo's other older games, Skyward Sword would be a lot more complicated than just copy and pasting. Luckily, the original version on the Wii never used pointer controls for aiming like Twilight Princess did, but it instead used gyro controls, which I honestly thought was a little bit of a downgrade since you needed to recalibrate the Wii remote every 20 seconds, but luckily for an HD remaster, the Joy-Cons are pretty much what Nintendo originally wanted the Wii Motion Plus to be in the first place, so there actually could be a pretty significant improvement on the Switch version. However, the problem with that is that while the Joy-Cons do use similar tech to the Wii Motion Plus, they're actually not the same thing at all internally. And look, I'm no scientist anymore, so I can't legally get into the specifics as to why all the circuits and gizmos aren't the same with both controllers, but again, it's certainly not a matter of copy and pasting, and I'd imagine that things would have to be reworked from the ground up. And yeah, obviously Nintendo's a billion-dollar company who could easily get the job done, but it'd be hard to imagine why they'd specifically prioritize this one particular Zelda game that fans constantly change their mind about. Man, after all, why go through all the trouble of recalibration when they could probably make just as much money copy and pasting Wind Waker and Twilight Princess over from the Wii U? Or hell, even Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask could sell out the ass, and all four games would require a lot less work. I mean, just think about how easy it'd be for Nintendo to translate Mother 3. If random fans can do it for free in their spare time, then Nintendo could easily do it in like 6 minutes, and yet they still haven't done it. Although, to be fair, that could just be because English-speaking countries are way too sensitive to handle that game right now, so who knows? Obviously, Skyward Sword hasn't already been remade, so it'd definitely be the freshest of the 5 3D Zelda games, even though it did come out at the end of the Wii's life cycle, and it was even re-released digitally on the Wii U. But let's not forget about the third Zelda game on the GameCube, Four Sword Adventures. I know that game's just a spin-off that wouldn't create nearly the same kind of buzz as Skyward Sword HD, and that it's not even really a 3D Zelda game, but even so, it's still considerably older, and most people have never played it, so that would in fact make it a little bit more fresh to just about everybody. And even outside of the Zelda franchise, there's still more games that'd be way easier for Nintendo to remaster that might not make as much money, but they'd still take a lot less effort to where there might actually be more worth doing. Even so, though, I'd still guess that the amount of effort Skyward Sword would require probably doesn't really matter since Eiji Aonuma teased it, and even though Nintendo did immediately spank him and deny that Skyward Sword HD was coming, they have constantly lied about many things that ended up coming true in the past. And honestly, even if there really were no plans to remaster the game, Eiji Aonuma probably just went into business for himself by teasing it at a concert that he knew people would be watching and filming. And you know what, if that man wants this game to happen, then odds are it's probably gonna at some point, even if it is a little bit of a hassle to do.
All in favor? Aye! All opposed? Nay.
I mean, let's be real here. We all know damn well that this game's not gonna just sit on the Wii forever and ever until the end of time, so at the end of the day, it's gonna get re-released someday anyway, so we're gonna need to recalibrate it at some point. And if that's the case, then they might as well just do it now while the demand for the game's so high. And besides, it's not like they couldn't just change the motion controls for the sword to be more like the controls in EA Skate where you just use the right analog stick. I don't know, I think that'd work pretty well anyway. And I'm sure some people would probably prefer the motion controls just be reworked altogether, or at least have the option to get rid of them altogether, but pretty much everything in Skyward Sword, from the puzzles to the combat's all built around swinging a remote around in very specific ways, so if you got rid of that element altogether, then the game would probably feel pretty bland. But you know what, at the same time, even though recalibrating it for the Joy-Cons is definitely doable, it'd still be a nightmare to play the game on the Switch Lite if most of it's centered around wagging the tablet around in the air. I mean, think about it, if a Switch version of this game were centered as heavily around motion controls, then you'd look like a dick playing it in public, and I'm sure there's probably an easy solution to this, and if you know of one, let me know in the comments, but I honestly can't think of a way for this game to be just as good on the Switch Lite as it would be docked. Even beyond all the issues regarding the Wii Remote, there's also the matter of Breath of the Wild 2, which is a game that I'm pretty sure a lot of you wouldn't want to be hindered for a remaster of a game that we could already play right now. But thankfully, much like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess on the Wii U, Nintendo wouldn't even have to do the remaster themselves, since I'm pretty sure the fine people over at Tantalus would probably be in charge of the project. And seeing as I'd imagine they don't have anything better going on right now, I'd bet money that they could find the time to get the job done. All I know is that Nintendo's absolutely positively, no doubt about it, gonna remaster Skyward Sword HD sooner or later, and that regardless of whether they do it now or in 10 years, it's not gonna hinder Breath of the Wild 2 in the slightest, even to the point where it's delayed by an hour. But either way, 2021's Zelda's 69th anniversary, so hopefully we at least get to play one or both of these games in the near future. But anyway, what do you think? Is Nintendo gonna find a way to remaster Skyward Sword without ruining the experience due to the lack of a Wii remote? Or are you sick and tired of ports on the Nintendo Switch at this point and just want to focus on new games? Either way, let me know what you think in the comments below, and as always, I'll try my goddamnedest to respond to everybody at some point. But let me tell you, if there's two people who could easily remaster Skyward Sword on the Nintendo Switch, then it'd definitely be today's patrons of the day, JT Murdoch and the Stiff Islands. If you want to be badasses like these two, then consider supporting FU Game Crew on Patreon for loot boxes and silly rewards in the mail. Send pictures or videos of you rocking merch if you want to make cameos in my videos, and follow me on Twitch if you ever want to hang out whenever I play video games sometimes. My name's CameronAllOneWord, and I'll see you next time.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.